Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson. So glad you're here. So glad that you're in this conversation. Today, we're talking with Mr. Jim Carlough, and Jim Carlough is the author of The 6 Pillars of Effective Leadership, a roadmap to success. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I love talking about leadership. I think it's an important topic. And so, Jim, welcome to the show.
Well, Fletcher, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here to talk to you and to answer your questions and also to talk to your audience.
Right on. Well, before we get into the meat of the conversation, I always like to start off with a win, something that's going well professionally or personally for you. What can you share with us?
So the sheer fact that we're having this conversation is a win. And the reason I say that is when I was growing up, I always heard people say, if you were born a leader, you'll lead. And I don't accept that. And I'm a testament to that. And the fact that we're having this conversation, and the reason I say that is even though I've led companies, if I look at my DNA and my heritage, my dad was a carpenter, his dad was a mason, my great grandfather was a chicken farmer. There's no boardroom people in that DNA chain anywhere. And so the sheer fact that you and I are going to have a conversation on leadership and that I've been in leadership for 30 plus years is a big win because I think we have something we can give back to your audience.
Right on, right on. I appreciate that. And something you said on there in that caught my attention. And I also saw it on your website, jimcarlough.com. And what you said was leaders aren't born, leaders aren't born leaders, they become leaders.
That
right?
is correct. That is absolutely correct.
Tell me a little bit more about that. And the reason I want to highlight this is because to me, this is an exciting concept. This is right. I mean, because so many people have this belief like, oh, well, they were born a leader, right? No. But what you're saying is something that's challenging that notion. So tell me more.
So when I look at leadership and what we do in this country and probably around the world as well, we typically take an individual contributor who has done a great job at something, and we tap them on the shoulder and say, Fletcher, we're going to make you a manager. You're going to now lead this team. And we shake your hand, you go home, you tell your spouse that you're going to be a leader, you're going to be a manager. You tell your close friends, and one of your friends says to you, Fletcher, you've never managed people before. How are you going to do that? And you realize, oh my God, I got to lead these people. How am I going to do that? And so what I've learned in mentoring of others the last 25 years is that a lot of people enter management without an understanding of how to work with people and how to manage people. Yes. And that's where the 6 pillars come in. The 6 pillars, I was first introduced to the first pillar, which is integrity, which to me is non-negotiable, in November of 1983. I was fresh out of college. I ran for a city councilman position in the hometown I grew up in, and I won. 22 years old. The city administrator asked if I could come in and have a chat with him, and I sat down with him, and he said, Jim, he said, congratulations, big win. You're a smart guy. He said, you're going to do this town a lot of good. He said, but I have one favor to ask you. And I said, what's that? He said, every night when you put your head on the pillow, I want you to ask yourself this one question. Did you do or did I do anything today for my own personal benefit that was at the expense of another individual, group of individuals, or organization? And he said, if you can say no to that question, you can rest peacefully. But if you said yes to that question, you need to, before you go to bed, do 2 things. Number 1, figure out how to unwind it. And if you aren't successful with doing that, also figure out how to never repeat that again.
Mm-hmm.
I have led my entire professional career and life asking myself that very question every night to this day.
That is a neat story. And I appreciate what you're bringing to the table here, because what you're talking about is an extremely high level of personal integrity.
Absolutely correct. And I think more than any time in our history, we need that in this country.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a podcast the other day or earlier this week with a gentleman out of Shanghai, and we talked about how integrity is lacking around the world. And we got into a deep conversation, and it to me, integrity is the foundation. If you look at it from a pillar perspective, it's the center pole holding up the tip of the roof, but it's really the foundational thing that everything else is built on. Because if you don't have integrity, your team is not going to trust you. If you don't have transparency, your team is not going to follow you and not buy into your vision. And so to me, it's non-negotiable, because without it, you can't lead with compassion, you can't show empathy, and you become, I describe the leader who, I often describe the leader who is always running an organization, but always changing out the people immediately below them.
Mm.
And I call that the switching of the chairs on the Titanic, because eventually that's going to get discovered, and that person in leadership is going to be removed. But until that time, the moving of the chairs, the reality is the Titanic is still going to sink at some point.
Exactly.
It's just going to take some time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well said. And I want to bring another example for for our listeners as well, about integrity, because this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Integrity and being your word. I think being your word is synonymous with integrity, doing what you say you will do. For much of my life, I was so out of integrity, meaning I did not do what I said I was going to do. And I thought it was totally fine. I was just used to that. I was practiced at breaking my word all over the place. And then I wondered why I wasn't able to produce the outcomes that I wanted to produce. But I also want to invite our listeners to consider integrity as workability. Right. So, like, for instance, if you think of a wheel on a 10-speed bicycle, or a bicycle with spokes, those spokes are there and they're evenly spaced and they have a specific tautness to them, so that the bicycle has structural integrity. And those spokes are so important. They are what is providing structural integrity for that wheel. Now, if you loosen or pull out a couple of the spokes, you diminish the structural integrity, the workability of that wheel. Can you still ride it? Yeah. Can you begin to notice it's not quite as tight, a tighter ride? Yes, you can. And if you pull out even more of them, the wheel begins to fail. And so I like to invite our readers to think about integrity as also workability. Like, what's the workability that you're bringing to the organization? What's the workability that you're bringing to your marriage, to your parenting, to your life? Does that resonate?
It absolutely does. It absolutely
Yeah.
does. Because you remove enough of those spokes, that wheel collapses.
Yeah. Yes.
So you've got to have that structural integrity. Otherwise, that wheel cannot perform the way you're expecting it to, and it will not be safe to ride at some point.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Really good. Yeah. Would you say that integrity is core to an effective leadership?
Absolutely, which is why I say it's non-negotiable. And people who have worked with me, I've been blessed and have had a great career, and I've had the luxury of having some people follow me to other places of employment because they know what they're going to get. They know that I breed success and I want everybody to be successful and we're going to win together. And they know that they're going to be treated well. They know they're going to be talked to straight with a leader who has transparency, and everybody knows their role and function and how we're going to get along and get things done and what the end game is and what we have to achieve.
Right on. So I got a question for you. And the question is, because the show is called Vision Pros. So we want to know, Jim, what is your vision?
My vision is I want to be responsible for the next level of leaders that have to run companies, organizations, and whatever. The whole premise and the whole reason I wrote the book was to really give everybody the same roadmap I've given people that I've mentored over the last 25 years, and to give them that structure, because nobody really does that. Corporations don't do that, but you can pick up this book and you can it's implementable, and there's exercises that you can do for each one of the pillars. And in addition to that, I also reference other people in industry or politics worldwide who use those pillars or a specific pillar in their management style. So I don't want to be perceived as the expert. I'm just somebody who's had success. I want to share that success. And my vision is to really take this to a bigger audience, because I really think the timing of the messaging is important, and the time is right. And the second thing is I know I can help more people.
Nice. So what I heard you say in that is that your vision is really to influence current and upcoming leaders. Is that accurate?
It's important to current and upcoming. I think people, and there's probably somebody in your audience who was like me, who said, do I want to be a leader? I don't know the first, right? So there's somebody out there thinking that. And I can give you the roadmap I can't give you the knowledge about the financial statements or health of your company. That's not my thing. But I can teach you, if you know your products and services and all the things about your company, I can teach you the things and the principles that have gotten me to where I am and to the success that I've had. And a lot of these things are soft skills, but they're needed skills, and they take time to develop.
Yeah, they take time to develop it, and then you have to practice them, right?
You have to practice them, and it's evolving.
Yes.
So so I mentioned already 1983, my first management job outside of college. Back in the 80s, like the 70s, management was still very authoritarian, almost like militaristic, where a manager or a leader would basically dictate what has to get done on a daily or weekly basis, and the troops went out and they did that.
Yeah.
Today, it's not that at all. In fact, I once told somebody at dinner, I think I have to look up those people I first managed. I owe them an apology. I was horrible. Horrible. When I think about how I lead today, it has evolved. Collaboration is king, right? If you're in my organization, we're collaborating all the time because 4 heads are better than 1. And I don't have all the answers, but working together with a group of people, we can get the answer.
You know what? I got to pause here, because this past 60, 90 seconds, this is my favorite part of this conversation. This is so powerful because here you are talking about leadership. And what you just said is, gosh, you know what? If I could go back, or maybe I need to call some of those people because I owe them an apology. That's powerful. Like you were doing your best back at the beginning when you were teaching people. you've grown, you've evolved, you've adapted, right? You've expanded your knowledge base, and you have all this additional experience, and you look back and go, oh, whoa, there were some things that maybe I was off the mark on, or I should update. I love that, because what that gives evidence to is the type of leader that you are, that you're willing to own mistakes or own shortcomings or own that there's a better way to do it now. That's powerful. I love that.
Well, thank you. But
Yeah.
it's true. But it's true. But it talks about the evolution, right? And if so, when you decide that you want to be a leader, you're going to be a leader 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody asked me once in an interview, when does leadership begin for you? Is it begin when you enter your office? And I said, no, it begins when my feet hit the floor, getting out of bed in the morning, because everything I do, I'm doing based on who I am and my principles. And it comes through with every single interaction. I'll give you an example. I once worked for a CEO who would park his car on the side of the building and enter through a side door and take the freight elevator to his office so he didn't have to interact with employees. Meanwhile, I'm parking where everybody's parking and interacting with people, whether they work for me or not,
Yeah.
on the way into the building and having conversations, because guess what? I could change somebody's day. Somebody could be
Absolutely.
getting out of their car and realizing I left my kid home sick, and guess what? I have a responsibility as a leader, even if they don't work for my team,
Yes.
to help them.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really, really rich. I'm really feeling enthusiastic about what you're talking about. Yeah, because at the end of the day, leadership, what leaders do are two things, in my opinion. Number one, they influence the thinking of the people they're leading. They influence thinking. And number two, they enroll people into a vision of what is possible. That's what leaders do. So yes, if you're sneaking up to your office through the freight elevator, you're going to have a hard time influencing the thinking and enrolling people into a vision of what's possible if you're hiding from them. Yeah, and then to your point, when do you start leading? Well, ask yourself, who is looking up to me? What responsibility do I have? As a father, I'm a leader. I'm leading. So I'm responsible for influencing the thinking of my children. I'm responsible for enrolling them into a vision of what is possible for their lives, right? As a friend, same thing, right? As a husband, same thing, right? As a business partner, same thing. Like, you are a leader somewhere in your life. If you're listening to this conversation and it hasn't dawned on you that you're a leader, let's have this conversation. You are a leader somewhere in your life. Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree with that. I'll tell you, I did a little experiment once. I had noticed that we had this woman who would come onto our floor and take out the trash twice a day and clean the kitchen up and put the dishes in the dishwasher. And I noticed I was the only one that would ever say hello to her. And her name was Kathy. Short little lady, pretty smile. Every day always had a smile on her face. And I noticed that the people on the floor, there's 60 some people, maybe 100 people on the floor, and nobody was talking to Kathy. So I sent out an email to the floor. And I said, the first person who can tell me the name of the woman who takes out our trash twice a day and cleans up after us in the kitchen will get a $50 Starbucks card. And I hit send, and I walked outside my office and just stood. And I watched everybody peeking up over the cubicle walls, looking to see if they could see where Kathy was. None of them knew her name. When she entered the floor, 20 people went to her and scared the bejeebies out of her that she ran downstairs to get her supervisor, who I'd never even thought that these people would do that. I mean, they just scared the living daylights out of her.
Yeah.
But you know what it taught? What it taught those people was she was part of our team.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? You know what changed? People didn't leave the kitchen messy anymore.
Oh, that's
They
interesting.
cleaned their own dishes and put them in the dishwasher, because now they had a better appreciation for the person who was stuck doing the dirty work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so to me, I called it a win that week, and it was a big win, but it opened people's eyes that why are we neglecting this person that does so much for us?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great story. When we get present to something new, right? We then have possibility to create a different outcome. That's so cool. And I love that what you just said, they began to see her as part of the team.
Correct.
And yeah, because take Kathy out of the equation, take the janitors out of the equation, take the maintenance department out of the equation. You're suddenly in a world of hurt.
Correct. If you need
Everybody is team.
Correct. Absolutely
Yeah.
correct. Everybody from the security guard at the front door to the janitor who's there late at night, to every single person that you're involved with that has a role and a responsibility. It may be a small role in the grand scheme of things, but without them, again, that's a spoke of the wheel that
Exactly.
if you take out, you're going to impact the integrity of that structure.
Yes. So good. So good. Jim, we're coming to the close of our conversation, and it's been such a pleasure talking with you. You mentioned that you have some books that you would like to give away, which is awesome.
I would.
Tell me about that.
So I am always interested in feedback. Feedback is how we learn. So I'm going to offer to the first 3 people that post a comment to this episode on social media. And Fletcher, I want you to think for a second, because I want them to post it to your social media for the podcast. So wherever you push that out, I know you have it on if you push it to YouTube or LinkedIn or wherever.
Yeah.
So the first 3 people who make a comment, what did you get from today's discussion? Positive or negative, just so we can get feedback. Do not post your address on social media. Either Fletcher or I will reach out to you to get your address, and I will send you a signed copy of my book, The 6 Pillars for Effective Leadership, A Roadmap to Success.
All right.
Where would you like those comments to go, Fletcher?
Yeah. So, so if they see it on LinkedIn, or if they see it on YouTube, or if they see it on Facebook, just, make that comment right there below, and we'll be monitoring them. You're going to push this out onto your socials. So if you see them on yours, it's those first 3 that are seen. So make that comment and pick up a free copy of Jim's book and dive into it and become even a better leader. Right on. Jim, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate what you're doing in the world, and keep up the great work. And it's time for you now to get out there, be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You do have something to offer this world. You are a leader in some capacity, and I believe in you.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.